Teo was working in his small garage when the sun started to go down. The sky turned orange and red, and the last light of the day fell on everything around him. He was fixing an old car that belonged to a neighbor. The work was simple, but important. Teo was a good mechanic. People in the town knew him well. He had worked on cars for 30 years. His hands were strong and his mind was sharp, even though he was getting old. It was late September and the air was getting cool. Teo decided to close his garage and walk home. His house was not far from his work. The walk took about 15 minutes. He liked this walk because it gave him time to think about the day. He thought about the customers he had helped, the problems he had fixed, and the simple things that made his life good. As he walked down the old street near the edge of the town, something made him stop. He heard a sound that was strange and weak. It was not a normal sound. Teo looked around. The street was empty. The houses around him were quiet, but the sound came again. It was like a person who was very tired, trying to walk, but having trouble. Then Teo saw them. Two figures were moving very slowly down the sidewalk ahead of him. They moved like they were carrying something very heavy. As Teo got closer, he could see they were not human. Their skin was silver and smooth, their bodies were long and thin, their heads were bigger than a human head. Their eyes were very large and they glowed with a soft blue light. Teo had never seen anything like them before, but he knew they were alive beings and they were in pain. The two aliens moved step by step. The smaller one was leaning against the bigger one. The bigger one was trying to hold both of them up. They moved like old people. They moved like they had walked a very long way and could not walk much more. Their clothes were torn. Their bodies looked weak. Teo could see that they were suffering, but they were not asking for help. They were just trying to keep going. Teo's heart felt something he had not felt in a long time. It was a feeling that pushed him to help. He had lost his wife many years ago. He had a daughter who lived far away in the city. Most of his days were quiet and alone. But this feeling was real and strong. He could not ignore it. The female alien turned her head and saw Teo. She stopped moving. The male alien also stopped. They both looked at him with their big blue eyes. For a moment, nobody moved. It was like time had stopped. Teo could see fear in their eyes. They did not know what this human would do. Would he help them? Would he hurt them? Would he call people who would take them away? The female alien spoke. Her voice was soft and gentle, like wind through leaves. The words came out slow and clear. "Forgive us, kind one. We can no longer walk. We are very tired. We have traveled for so long. Our ship fell from the sky many cycles ago. We have walked and walked, looking for a safe place. But now our bodies are too weak. We can no longer continue. Might we ask you for something? Could we have shelter for just one night? We would not trouble you after the morning comes. We ask only for rest." Teo did not think. He did not worry about what other people would say. He did not think about what the government might do. He only thought about two old beings who needed help. He thought about how his wife would have acted. She had always helped people. She had always opened their home to those who needed it. He spoke to them gently. "Yes, of course. You can come to my home. It is not far from here. You can rest there. I will help you." The relief that showed on the aliens' faces was clear. The male alien, who was strong even though he was old, helped his partner stand up better. They started to walk toward Teo's home. The walk was very slow. Every step was difficult for them. But Teo stayed close to them. He was ready to catch them if they fell. He made sure they felt safe. As they walked, the male alien spoke. His voice was quieter than his partner's voice. "My name is Kixrol. This is my partner, Silvantha. We have been together for 200 years. We have traveled through many worlds. We have seen many things. But we are old now, very old. Our time is coming to an end. We only want to find peace." Teo told them his name. I am Teo. I live here alone. My home is small, but it is warm and clean. You can stay there tonight. I will give you everything you need." When they reached the house, Teo helped them inside. The home was simple. There was a living room with old furniture. There was a kitchen where he cooked simple meals. There were 2 bedrooms and a small bathroom. The house was not fancy, but it was full of life. There were pictures on the walls. Some showed a younger Teo with a woman who was smiling. Some showed a young girl. These were memories of his wife and his daughter. Teo helped the aliens to the guest room. He gave them clean blankets and soft pillows. He adjusted the heat so they would be warm. He brought them water. The aliens were so tired that they sat on the bed and did not speak. But Teo could see something in their eyes. It was gratitude. It was relief. It was the feeling that maybe, finally, they could rest. Kixaral reached out his long arm and touched Teo's shoulder. "You are kind. Your world is full of pain and conflict, but you show us kindness. This is rare. This is very rare." Teo left them to rest. He went to his own room, but he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the 2 aliens. Who were they? What had happened to them? How long could they stay? These questions filled his mind. But more than anything, he felt that he had done the right thing. He had helped someone who needed help. His wife would have been proud of him. Outside, the night was dark and full of stars. Somewhere up there, far away, there were other worlds. There were other beings. Now 2 of those beings were resting safely in his home, and Teo knew that his simple act of kindness had changed something. It had changed his life, and it would change their lives too. The next morning came slowly. The sun rose and light entered every room of Teo's small house. He woke early, as he always did. He made coffee in his old kitchen. The coffee was strong and hot. He drank it while looking out the window at the quiet street. He was nervous about the day ahead. He did not know how his guests would wake up. He did not know what they would need. As Teo finished his coffee, he heard movement from the guest room. He went to the door and knocked softly. A quiet voice answered. It was Silvantha. She asked him to come inside. The aliens were awake. They were sitting on the bed together. Kixaral had his arm around Silvantha. They looked more rested than they had the night before, but they still looked very tired. The journey they had taken had been long and hard on their bodies. Teo asked them if they were hungry. They said yes, but they explained that they did not eat like humans eat. They needed to drink warm liquids that had nutrients in them. Silvantha said that soup was perfect for them. She said that warm broth could give their bodies the energy they needed. Teo went to his kitchen. He was not sure what to cook. He had never cooked for aliens before. But he decided to make something simple. He took some vegetables, he took some meat, he put them in water with salt and spices. He let it cook for a long time until it became a warm, thick broth. The smell filled his entire house. When the broth was ready, he brought 2 big bowls to his guests. He also brought bread and fruit. Silvantha smiled. It was a real smile, not a polite one. She told him that this was perfect. She and Kixaral began to drink the broth slowly. They seemed to enjoy it very much. While they ate, Teo sat near them. He began to ask them questions about who they were. Kixaral started to talk. His voice was calm and clear. He told Teo about his people. He told him that they came from a star system very far away. The name of the system was difficult to pronounce, so Teo just called it the Far Star in his mind. Kixaral explained that his people were very old as a civilization. They had been alive for hundreds of thousands of years. They had built great cities. They had learned many things about the universe. But something had happened to their world. Kixaral did not explain exactly what it was. He only said that their home was no longer safe. Their civilization was ending. So he and Silvantha had decided to leave. They had gotten on a ship and traveled through space looking for a new home. The journey had taken a very long time. They had traveled for many years. But something went wrong with their ship. There was an accident. The ship began to fall. They could not control it. They fell to Earth. The ship crashed in the mountains far from the town where Tayo lived. The crash was very bad. Many systems on the ship broke. They could not fix them. They could not call for help. So they had decided to walk. They had walked through forests and across empty lands. They had walked for months. They were looking for a place where they could rest. They were looking for people who might help them. But they did not want to trouble anyone. They only wanted to find a quiet place to spend their final days together. Sylvantha added to his story. She told Teo that they had been together for 200 years. In the time that humans live, that would be like being together for many lifetimes. They had loved each other for all that time. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had traveled to many worlds. But now they were old. Their bodies were tired, and they wanted to be together at the end. Teo listened to everything they said. He felt sadness and wonder at the same time. These were beings who had lived so long. They had seen so much. But now they were here, far from home, with nowhere to go. The unfairness of it made Teo feel angry. But he did not show his anger. He only showed kindness. That day, Teo did not go to his garage. He stayed home with his guests. He wanted to make sure they were comfortable. He wanted to learn more about them. He realized that this day, this single day, was more important than any work he could do. During the afternoon, Kixral told Teo another story. He told him about a time when their ship had met another ship in space. That ship had been human. The humans inside were young and strong. They were exploring the stars, just like Kixral and Sylvantha were. The two ships had come close to each other. The humans could have been afraid. They could have attacked. But instead, they showed kindness. The humans had shared medical supplies with them. They had given them food and water. They had given them information about safe routes through space. The humans had asked for nothing in return. They had only helped because they saw that help was needed. Kixral said that act of kindness had saved their lives. It had given them hope. For 50 years they had remembered the kindness of humans. Teo felt honored to hear this story. He felt like he was part of something larger. His kindness to these aliens was part of a chain of kindness that stretched across the stars and through time. That evening, Teo cooked dinner again. He made rice and vegetables and more broth. They all sat together at his small table. The aliens ate slowly and carefully. Sylvantha asked Teo about his life. She asked him about his family. She asked him about his work. Teo told them about his wife, who had died many years ago. He told them about his daughter Misun, who lived in the city and worked in a big company. He told them about his work fixing cars. He told them that his life was quiet and simple, but it had been a good life. Sylvantha reached across the table and held Teo's hand. Her skin was smooth and warm. She said, "You have a good heart. That is the best thing any being can have. A good heart. Your wife was lucky to know you. Your daughter is lucky to know you. And we are lucky that we met you." As night came again, Teo prepared the guest room for sleep once more. But this time, it felt different. This was not just helping strangers. This was something deeper. This was connection. This was friendship. Before he went to sleep himself, Teo sat by his window and looked at the stars. He thought about Kixral and Sylvantha up there in space in their broken ship. He thought about the long journey they had taken. And he thought about how strange and wonderful it was that they had found their way to his small house in his small town. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know how long they would stay or what the future would bring. But he knew one thing for certain. Helping them had already changed something inside him. He felt more alive than he had in years. Days passed like pages turning in a book. Teo stopped going to his garage. He called his regular customers and told them he was sick. He did not tell them the truth. He did not tell them that he was caring for two aliens who had fallen from the sky. He knew that nobody would understand. He knew that the government would come and take them away. So he kept his secret and stayed home. Every day, Teo made sure that Kixral and Silvantha had everything they needed. He cooked warm broths with different vegetables and meats. He made sure the house was the right temperature. He helped them walk slowly from room to room when their legs felt strong enough. He listened to their stories about the stars and their long life together. Kixral grew weaker each day. Teo could see it clearly. The alien's movements became slower. His breathing became heavier. Sometimes he would sleep for many hours. When he was awake, he would just sit quietly and look out the window at the sky. One afternoon, Kixral asked Teo to sit with him. They sat together in the living room. The sun was bright outside. Birds were singing in the trees. Kixral took a long time to speak. When he finally did, his voice was very quiet. "I am dying, Teo," Kixral said. "I know this. Silvantha knows this. We have known it for a long time. My body is old. It is very old. I have lived for 240 years. I have lived a long and good life. But now it is ending." Teo did not know what to say. He felt tears coming to his eyes. He had only known these beings for a few days, but he had grown to love them. The thought of losing them was painful. Kixral continued, "I am not afraid of death. I have seen many things end, stars end, civilizations end. But everything that ends has also been beautiful. My life has been beautiful because I have lived it with Silvantha, and now it is even more beautiful because I have known you." Silvantha came and sat on the other side of Kixral. She took his hand. She looked at Teo with her big blue eyes. "You have given us a gift greater than you know," she said. "When we landed on your world, we thought we would die alone. We thought we would die in cold places far from comfort. But you have given us warmth. You have given us kindness. You have made our final time beautiful." Over the next weeks, Teo became a nurse. He learned how to care for someone who was very sick. He learned what medicines might help. He learned how to make Kixral comfortable. He learned that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply be present with someone. Sometimes the most important thing is to hold their hand and listen. Silvantha explained to Teo that there was a disease in Kixral's body. It was something that happened to his kind when they became very old. She said it was not painful, but it was making his body weak. It was slowing down everything inside him. Soon, she said, his body would stop working completely. "I could leave him," Silvantha said one day. "I could keep walking. I could try to find help, but I will not. We have been together for 200 years. I will not leave him now. When his time comes, my time will come too. That is how it is supposed to be." Teo could not imagine love like that. Love so strong that you would choose to end your life rather than live without the person you loved. But he understood it. He had loved his wife like that. When she died, part of him died too. One day, Misun called. She was Teo's daughter. She said, "Father, you have not answered your phone in weeks. What is happening? Are you okay?" Teo decided to tell her the truth. He told her everything. He told her about Kixral and Silvantha. He told her about their ship. He told her about their long journey. He told her that he was helping them during their final days. There was a long silence on the phone. Then Misun said, "Father, this is crazy. This is dangerous. The government will find out. They will take them away. They will arrest you." But Teo said, "I do not care. What else can I do? Tell me, Misun, what else can I do? These are old beings who need help. I am helping them. That is the right thing to do." Misun was quiet again. Then she said, "I am coming home. I will help you." 3 days later, Mi-sun arrived. She was a tall woman in her 30s. She was smart and strong. When she saw Kixral and Sylvantha, she understood why her father was doing this. She could see the kindness in their eyes. She could see their need. Mi-sun began to help too. She brought supplies. She brought medicine. She brought information about how to care for someone who was very sick. She did not call the police. She did not tell anyone. She simply helped her father care for their guests. One evening, all four of them sat together. Mi-sun had brought food from the city. They ate and talked. Sylvantha told stories about the stars. Kixral told stories about the long life he and Sylvantha had lived together. And Teo and Mi-sun listened and learned and loved. Kixral spoke about the science of his people. He spoke about the stars and the planets and the great distances of space. He spoke about the laws of the universe. He spoke about time and energy and the nature of life itself. Tayo and Mi-sun could not understand all of it. Much of it was too complicated. But they listened anyway. They listened to the wisdom of a being who had lived for 240 years. "Knowledge is wonderful," Kixral said, "but kindness is better. You can know everything about the universe. You can understand all the science and all the mathematics. But if you do not have kindness, then all your knowledge is empty." "Kindness is what makes life worth living," Sylvantha added, "and love. Love is the reason we are alive. I love Kixral. He loves me. You love your daughter, Tayo. She loves you. That is everything. That is the only thing that truly matters." Days and weeks continued to pass. The seasons changed. The leaves on the trees outside became red and orange and yellow. The weather grew cooler. And through it all, Teo and Mi-sun cared for their alien friends. They did not speak much anymore about the government or about being discovered. They lived in the moment. They lived in gratitude. They lived in love. And in that small house on the edge of town, something miraculous was happening. Two different species, from different worlds, different times, were learning to be a family. Winter came to the town. Snow fell on the streets and on the roofs of the houses. The world became white and cold and quiet. But inside Tayo's home, it was warm and full of life. Teo and Mi-sun had made the house into something special. It was no longer just a place where an old man lived alone. It had become a sanctuary. In the basement, they had created a comfortable space for Kixral. The alien was too weak now to climb the stairs. He spent most of his time in the basement room that they had prepared for him. They had made it warm. They had put soft lights on the walls that did not hurt his sensitive eyes. They had brought comfortable beds and blankets. Sylvantha never left his side. She sat with him every day and every night. She held his hand. She sang to him in her own language. The songs were strange and beautiful. They sounded like wind and water and the movement of stars. Tayo and Mi-sun would sit outside the basement and listen to the songs. They did not understand the words, but they understood the love in them. Kixral's body was failing now. His skin, which had been bright silver, was becoming dull. His eyes, which had glowed with blue light, were becoming dim. He could barely move. He could barely speak. But his mind was still sharp. He could still think. He could still remember. One cold morning, Kixral asked to speak with Teo alone. Sylvantha left the room. Teo sat beside the old alien's bed. Kixral tried to raise his hand. Teo helped him. Together, they held each other's hand. "I am going to leave soon," Kixral said. His voice was very weak now, like wind through dry leaves. "I can feel it. My body is stopping. Soon I will not be here anymore, but I am not sad. I am ready. I have lived long. I have lived well." Teo felt tears in his eyes. "I do not want you to go," he said. "I know. Kixral said. But this is the way of life. Everything that lives must end. This is not sad. This is beautiful. My life was beautiful because Sylvantha was with me. And my last days were beautiful because you and me, son, were with us. I have no regrets. Kixral moved his eyes toward a small box on the table beside the bed. I have something to give you, he said. Inside that box is something important. It is a record. It contains information about my people. It contains our history. It contains our knowledge. I want you to keep it safe. Someday, when the time is right, you can share it with your people. It is a gift from my world to your world. Teo took the box with trembling hands. It was small and light. It was made of a material he did not recognize. It felt almost like glass, but it was not glass. It was smooth and warm. I will keep it safe, Teo promised. I will never lose it. I know you will, Kixral said. You are a good man. You have a good heart. That is why I trust you with this. Over the next few days, Kixral talked less. He just lay in his bed and held Sylvantha's hand. She sang to him. She told him stories about their time together. She reminded him of all the beautiful things they had seen and done. Tayo and Misun brought food and water, but Kixral could not eat any more. His body had stopped needing food. It was preparing for the end. One night, Tayo was sitting upstairs in the living room. He was thinking about Kixral. He was thinking about death and life and the meaning of things. Misun came and sat beside him. Do you think we did the right thing? Misun asked. I mean by helping them? By keeping them here? Teo thought about the question for a long time. Yes, he finally said. I think we did. These beings needed help. We gave it to them. That is always the right thing to do. We have no regrets. Misun took her father's hand. I am proud of you, father. I am proud of what you have done. Mother would be proud too. That night, around midnight, Sylvantha called for them. They came downstairs quickly. They found Kixral lying very still. His eyes were closed. His breathing was very shallow. They could tell that the end was very close now. Sylvantha was holding his hand. Come, she said to Teo and Misun. Come and say goodbye to him. Teo and Misun came and stood beside the bed. They put their hands on Kixral's shoulder. They said words of thanks and love. They told him that he had been a good friend. They told him that they would never forget him. Kixral's eyes opened one last time. He looked at each of them. Then he looked at Sylvantha. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. But Sylvantha understood. She always understood. She leaned down and put her forehead against his forehead. And then, quietly and peacefully, Kixral stopped breathing. His hand, which had been warm, became cool. His eyes closed. He was gone. Sylvantha did not cry. She sat very still. She held his hand and did not let go. Thank you, she whispered to him. Thank you for 200 wonderful years. Thank you for everything. Teo and Misun stood in the quiet of the room. Outside, snow was still falling. The world was white and cold. But inside this room, there was love. There was gratitude. There was beauty even in sadness. They gave Kixral a proper goodbye. They wrapped his body in clean cloth. They put flowers around him. And they held a small ceremony, just the three of them, saying words of remembrance and thanks. Sylvantha sat with her partner for many hours. She did not leave his side. She held his hand and looked at his face. She was remembering. She was saying goodbye. But something had changed in Sylvantha after Kixral died. The light in her eyes seemed to dim. She ate less. She moved even more slowly. It was as if her will to live had left with her partner. Teo understood. He had felt the same way when his wife died. He had not wanted to live without her. He had only wanted to be with her again. Now Sylvantha was feeling that same pain. But she did not ask to die. She did not ask to leave. Instead, she began to prepare for her own ending. She began to teach Tayo and Mi-sun everything she knew. She began to record stories. She began to make sure that something of her and Kixaral would live on after they were gone. After Kixaral died, the world seemed different to Tayo. Colors seemed less bright. Sounds seemed quieter. He had known the alien for only a few months, but it felt like they had been friends for much longer. The loss was deep. The grief was real, but Sylvantha was still there. She was still alive. And now Tayo and Mi-sun understood that they had a new purpose. Their purpose was to be with Sylvantha, to comfort her, to help her finish her life in peace and with love. Winter grew colder. Snow piled high on the streets outside. The days were short. The nights were long and dark. Inside Tayo's home, they had created a warm space for Sylvantha. She spent most of her time in the living room now, sitting by the window, looking out at the winter landscape. Sylvantha began to tell them stories. Long stories about her life with Kixaral. Stories about worlds they had visited. Stories about the beautiful things they had seen. She talked about the time they had visited a planet with 3 suns. She talked about a world made entirely of water and ice. She talked about a civilization so advanced that they could move stars. But, Sylvantha said, the most advanced civilization in the universe is not as important as love. All those beings with all their knowledge, they were not as happy as Kixaral and I were. We had love. That was enough. Mi-sun sat with a notebook. She wrote down everything Sylvantha said. She wanted to remember it. She wanted to keep the stories safe. She understood that these stories were precious. They were a gift from a being who had lived for centuries. Tayo brought Sylvantha warm broths. He brought her soft blankets. He sat with her for hours without speaking. Sometimes the best way to be with someone is to simply be present, to sit together in silence, to let them know they are not alone. One day, Sylvantha asked Tayo to take her to see the stars. It was night. The sky was clear and cold. There were no clouds. The stars were bright and beautiful, scattered across the darkness like diamonds on black cloth. Tayo put warm clothes on Sylvantha. He helped her to the door. They stepped outside together. The cold night air touched their faces. The snow crunched under their feet. They stood together in Tayo's small yard. They looked up at the stars. Sylvantha pointed at different points of light. She told him which ones were near her home world. She told him stories about the beings who lived around each star. She told him about civilizations that had risen and fallen. She told him about love that had lasted across millions of years. Somewhere up there, Sylvantha said, Kixaral is now, not his body. His body is here with us, but his spirit, his memory, his love, those things continue. They return to the stars. They become part of the universe again. Tayo did not fully understand what she meant, but he understood the feeling. He felt it in his heart. He felt that Kixaral was somehow still present. He felt that their love had not ended with death. It had only changed form. They stood outside for a long time. They watched the stars. And Sylvantha taught Tayo how to see the universe the way her people saw it. She taught him that the stars were not just big balls of fire. They were homes. They were families. They were connections across the vastness of space. When they went back inside, Sylvantha was very tired. She slept for many hours, but she slept peacefully. She slept with a smile on her face. As the days passed, Sylvantha became weaker. Like Kixaral before her, her body was shutting down. Her skin, which had been silver, was becoming gray, but her mind was still clear. Her spirit was still strong. One afternoon, Sylvantha asked Mi-sun to bring the box that Kixaral had given to Tayo. The box was small and beautiful. Sylvantha held it in her hands. She looked at it for a long time. This box contains everything we have learned, Sylvantha said. Everything our civilization discovered, everything we created, all of our art and music and science. It is all stored in here. It is a record of our existence, a record of our love. She opened the box. Inside was something that looked like a crystal. It glowed with a soft light. The light was beautiful and strange. It seemed to contain colors that Tayo had never seen before. This is a memory stone, Sylvantha explained. It holds the information of my entire civilization. When the right person reads it, they will understand everything. They will know who we were. They will know what we loved. They will know that we were here. She put the box back together. She gave it to Tayo. You must keep this safe. You must give it to someone you trust. Someday your world will be ready to understand what is in this box. When that time comes, all of humanity will know about us. They will know that we were here. They will know that we were kind. They will know that we wanted peace. Tayo held the box carefully. He felt the weight of it. It was light in his hands, but heavy with meaning. It was the entire history of an ancient civilization. It was the love of two beings who had lived for 200 years together. I will keep it safe, he promised, and I will make sure the world knows about you and Kixaral. I will make sure people know that you were kind and that you loved each other. Spring came to the town. The snow melted. The flowers began to grow. The world came alive again after the long winter. But Sylvantha's time was coming to an end. She spent most of her days sleeping now. She would wake for short times. During those times, she would ask Tayo and Mi-sun to sit with her. She would hold their hands. She would look at their faces. She was memorizing them. She was saying goodbye without words. One night, Sylvantha woke and asked them to come close. They came and sat on either side of her bed. They held her hands. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was very quiet. "Thank you for being kind to us. Thank you for giving us peace at the end of our long journey. I will tell Kixaral that you were kind. I will tell him that humans are good beings. I will tell him that there is hope for this world. We love you," Mi-sun said. "We are happy we met you." Sylvantha smiled. She closed her eyes, and as the morning sun came through the window, she took her last breath. She let go of their hands, and she was gone. Tayo and Mi-sun sat with her for a long time. They did not cry right away. They just sat in the quiet. They felt the loss deeply, but they also felt grateful. They felt honored to have known her. They felt changed by her presence. That night they prepared her body as they had prepared Kixaral's. They wrapped her in clean cloth. They put flowers around her, and they sat with her and remembered. They remembered her stories. They remembered her kindness. They remembered her love. Outside, the spring birds were singing. The world was full of new life. And inside the small house on the edge of town, two humans mourned the loss of two aliens who had become their family. They mourned not with despair, but with love. They mourned knowing that something beautiful had happened in this house, something that would change them forever.